hopefully I'm not going to ruffle too many feathers in today's video, but I really wanted to check out whether upgrading your camera for megapixels alone is really worth it. Oh, it's a chilly afternoon. So if you regularly follow the channel, you'll know that I recently upgraded my camera from the Fuji X-H1 to the Fuji X-H2. Now, there were many reasons for that upgrade, including a better EVF and LCD, and also improved autofocus and IBIS. Now, the shutter count on my X-H1 was getting really high as well, so it was definitely time for an upgrade. Let's just get through this gate. There we go. Now, one large carrot camera brands like to dangle in front of our noses is for the ever increasing demand for more megapixels. But the question is, how many more megapixels do we actually need? Today I'll be taking a few images down here at the coast and comparing the 26 megapixel Fuji X-T3 to the 40 megapixel X-H2 to see if there really is a noticeable difference in terms of detail and resolution. How cool is this tree, by the way? Absolutely amazing. I think it's been struck by lightning at some point and toppled over, but it's still growing. Absolutely brilliant. I need to photograph this at some point when we get some early morning light and mist. Yeah, fantastic. This place is one of my favourite places on the planet, it really is. And this time of year, it's likely that we won't see another person all day. The sand will remain unspoilt. We might get the odd dog walker, but just look at those views across that sand. Absolutely incredible. So I've walked all the way down the end of this beach, across some pretty treacherous rocky terrain to photograph this waterfall. A shot that I photographed before, I thought it might be frozen, so I thought there might be some amazing icicles there. Well, it's not frozen, and actually the whole cliff face is fallen away, completely ruining the waterfall. Now it's just a trickle running behind some rocks. So I'm going to abandon that, head back down the beach and see if we can find something else to focus on and shoot this afternoon. So I've set this shot up here with the wide angle lens, the Viltrox 13mm f1.4 on the Fuji X-H2. Now, the only issue I do have about this composition is the big expanse of sand on the left-hand side, but I like the fact that we've got 3 rock formations in the scene. We've got some nice wispy clouds as well, and a bit of soft light on these rocks in the foreground. Just a little bit, it's dipping down behind some clouds, but we are getting some light on it, which is going to be nice to compare contrast, that type of thing. So I'm not going to dwell too much on this shot. I'm going to grab it, swap the camera over to the X-T3, and then move on and see if we can find a telephoto shot using a 5140 lens, because that is a lens that Fuji recommends for the 40 megapixel system. So it'd be interesting to see how they compare. I've framed this shot up here, really simple composition. I don't think we're going to get a huge amount of colour in the sky tonight. There's a big expanse of cloud out there to the west. I've gone for something super minimal. So I'm going to put the 2-second timer on, and I am freezing, and grab this shot, and then swap the camera over, put the X-T3 on, and let's get back to the office and take a look at these images to see how they compare. So I've spent a significant amount of time pixel peeping into these images, so you guys don't have to, because quite frankly it's quite tedious, isn't it? I'm not really a pixel peeper, but I really wanted to get to the bottom of this and find out if camera companies are trying to pull the wool over our eyes. Now, I don't want to diss a specific camera brand or camera make, but I do want to open an honest discussion with you guys so we can really get to the bottom of this. So please watch this video until the end, because I've found some very, very surprising results. So here is the comparison between the 40 megapixel and 20 megapixel images, just to give you a reference between the two. I've darkened the image at the back to make it easier to see. Here are the two photos side by side in Lightroom, and both images look the same. Next I took the same photos into Photoshop with no edits applied. This is zoomed into 100% and we can see the difference in the size of the rock, but we can also see more detail in the 26 megapixel photo, which was surprising to say the least. This is the same shot, but we're viewing the midground, and again the 26 megapixel image is sharper. Here is the background of the same image, and this I found particularly interesting because the 26 megapixel image is a lot sharper. So I decided to up-res the 26 megapixel image so it was the same size as the 40 megapixel image to see if there was much difference. And to my amazement, the upscaled 26 megapixel photo appears to be sharper, especially when we look at the background. So let's take a look at the image I took with this lens, the Fuji 50-140 f2.8. Now this lens is on Fuji's recommended list for the 40 megapixel sensor, and it's also just come back from a full service and repair from Fuji, so it's in tip-top condition. So let's take a look at this image, and this is really surprising too. Again in Lightroom and normal viewing size, the images look exactly the same, except maybe the lighting is a little bit different. Here I've zoomed into 100% in Lightroom and the 26 megapixel image looks a touch sharper. This could be the lighting though. In Photoshop I upscaled the 26 megapixel image to 40 megapixels so we can compare the two like for like. In my opinion the XT file looks sharper, but again the light has a little bit more contrast, so that could be the deciding factor here. For a laugh and to break the monotony, I upscaled both images to 10,000 pixels wide, and again the images look the same with the 26 megapixel XT file looking a little sharper. Here I downscaled both images to 4,000 pixels wide, and again the XT3 file came out a little sharper. In fact I had to increase the sharpening by about plus 30% with unsharp mask to get similar results on the XH2 file. The 26 megapixel image of the XT3 is sharper out of Lightroom with the default sharpening than the larger 40 megapixel file is. So I turned off the Lightroom's default sharpening in both images and took them into Photoshop. I upscaled the XT3 file to 40 megapixels and the images look identical. What does happen though is when I apply unsharp mask to both images with the amount set to 100, the 40 megapixel XH2 file resolved slightly better, but my word, I'm really struggling to see a difference. It is so negligible, it quite frankly is unbelievable. So my first question to you is, are we being conned? Is the Fuji's 40 megapixel sensor actually a 26 megapixel sensor like the XC3? And is the processor in the camera doing some upscaling to spit out a 40 megapixel file, fooling us into thinking that we're actually getting a larger, better quality image? Or two, is it a case the fact that the lenses have reached a saturation point where they just can't resolve enough detail to make that 40 megapixel sensor show better image quality? I'd love to know your thoughts on this, guys, so please do drop some comments down below. For me, hardware improvements are far more valuable than flashy numbers that are touted around by camera brands to generate more sales. That's just my opinion though. If you'd like to see me out in the field shooting with the Fuji X-H2, consider checking out this video over here. If you enjoyed this content, please consider hitting the thumbs up button, sharing it if you think others might like it too. Consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos such as this one. If you would like to support the channel further, please do consider checking out my online photography club, the Photographers Clubhouse, where we learn, share and inspire one another to create amazing photos. Until next week guys, take care and I'll see you soon.